Climbing with the best in your field is another way of finding out how good you are. And so before attempting Strand, Henry went to Cornwall to climb a route called Liberator with an Englishman, Pete Livesey, a top caver, kayaker, and climber, a heavyweight, just like Henry. And though the climb required them to be tied together, one leading, then the other, underneath the surface, beneath the laughter and good cheer, a fierce competition rages. Now, meet Pete Livesey.
About halfway up is a little overhang to negotiate. Under this is a pin that's normally used for aid. In fact, nobody has yet done it without the aid. And of course, I'll have to try and do it without the aid, because if I don't, Henry certainly will. It's a kind of a competition again. But as I am leading, if I opt to use the aid and Henry does it without, then I feel as though he's beaten me. The trick here is to sneak off right around the corner, around the arete, onto a little hidden ledge, and it's possible to take a rest here. If things get too difficult, you always think at the back of your mind, I can get out of here, I can jump in the sea, and that's it, I'll be free. Of course, it's not true. You wouldn't have much chance of getting out of the sea. But it just seems to be there. It's a psychological thing, I'm sure. I move back left around the corner to the pin. I had a couple of attempts at climbing the move free, but in the end, my face and eyes were covered in sweat. My hands were covered in sweat. Chalk was everywhere, and I just gave in, grabbed hold of the pin, and used it to pull up and move over the roof. It's kind of a psychological relief when you grab hold of it, and it's there and it's firm. But a couple of seconds later, you know that you've given in, that you've lost that particular part of the competition. And you know sure as sure that Henry will do it free. On the other hand, he won't be leading. He'll be on the other end of the rope. And this makes it a lot easier. And you can kind of console yourself with that thought when he's powering over the roof. But perhaps another day, I'll do it without. Henry's coming up now, and he's climbing very fast. Which is a bit annoying, because we'd like him to have difficulty on it. Because he knows that, and he's climbing as fast as possible.
Climbing is an extension of walking. You always have to be concentrating on your footwork, even when you're going over an overhang. You want to take as much strain off your arms as possible, and this is done by using your feet. And if you can get one hand over the lip of the overhang, and then get a foot over, you're immediately taking strain off the other parts of your body. He's probably bummed out that I did the roof move without the aid, but that's really his problem. It probably has to do with the English climber's grabbiness for first ascents. And for me, that's really not what climbing's all about.
See you soon.
Yeah.
It's Henry's turn to lead the last pitch now. It's very steep, and each move is quite strenuous. But if you climb very fast and forget about protection, then it's a very easy pitch to do. It's certainly a very easy pitch to second. Henry's climbing it, and he's spending a tremendous long time hung under the roof above the stance, trying to get some protection in. I'm sure I couldn't spend that long hanging there. But Henry's strong. There's a good protection placement above him. I know it's there, but I'm not going to tell him, because he seems to want to hang there under the roof, using up all his strength.
In a situation like this, you have a crack in the back of a corner. You use a technique called laybacking, where you pull with your hands in the crack and push with your feet against the slab to reduce the strain on your arms and leg muscles. After the difficult layback and overhang section in the last pitch of Liberator, you still have to be careful, because the climbing eases up quite a bit, but After you've done difficult climbing on a route of this nature, you can very easily make mistakes on easier ground when your runners are further apart. You could fall a long way. And once you've reached the end of the pitch, all you have to do is belay your second up. The climb's over.
I remember when Henry Barber first came over here to climb, he set out to impress the British climbers. And I'm sure he would have done, but he reckoned without the great beer drinking tradition of British climbers, it's considered unsportsmanlike to go out climbing without having drunk vast quantities of beer beforehand. Henry wasn't into beer drinking at the time, but I think he's been training since then. We notice the difference now. He's come back here and he can drink the beer as well as climb.